Good morning and welcome to the Morning Spotlight Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ham, coming to you, as always, from the Spotlight Studios here in Morristown, New Jersey. My guest today works in business development for an eco-friendly junk removal company based in Stamford, Connecticut called Luggers. He is here today because he needs help from you, the Spotlighters, to raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. He is Brandon Gidicson. Brandon, welcome.
Michael, thank you tremendously for having me.
I'm very excited to have you on. So mutual connection, Dana Reynolds, friend of mine, friend of the show, put us in touch because she said that you were doing something really cool, which we'll get into in a little bit. But before we get there, I do want to learn a little bit more about you. So how do you find yourself lugging junk?
That's a great question. So prior to this, I was actually a commercial real estate broker on Long Island, and I was dealing specifically with office space leasing. Unfortunately, once COVID hit, that whole industry just sort of came to a close. You know, there were a lot of businesses that were sort of switching to a work from home style environment. So I was out of work for a few months, and then a mutual connection of mine, she knew the hiring manager at the Luggers. They were looking for a business development specialist, and I guess I wowed them, you know, because now I'm hired. So the rest is history.
Right. So what makes Luggers eco-friendly?
It's a great question. So when we remove items, our first objective would be to stop by a charity or a nonprofit, would be to hand off those items there. So once doing so, the customer gets a tax deductible receipt because they were donated, which is great, you know. If not, we would look to recycle it. So everything gets broken down: metal, electronic waste, paper, cardboard, you name it, and we will get rid of it in a sustainable way.
So I'm imagining that you are pretty fresh out of college, right?
Relatively.
Yeah.
I graduated in 2018. So,
Okay.
you know, I still feel old some days because my back hurts because I'm tall, but, you know.
Right. Well, yeah, give it some time.
Yeah.
And so was real estate something that you were actively interested in and wanted to pursue, or was it just something that kind of like you just got into it as something to try? Is it something that you think you're going to go back to?
I don't think I would go back to it. It was, you know, it was a pretty interesting field. Initially, I thought residential, but then I realized that 85% of the people who hold their real estate licenses go into residential, and only 15% go into commercial. So it's a bit more of a contrarian approach. So that's sort of what piqued the interest there.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I mean, we've had a lot of real estate brokers on the show,
Mhm.
you know, particularly on the commercial side, and not a lot, but some office brokers as well. And it's just interesting to kind of see like what the conversations are around office leasing and all that kind of stuff. So I was just curious if there were spotlighters out there that could help you, but if that's something you're interested in, that's cool. But you're here to talk about something specific. So you had reached out, or Dana had connected us because you're trying to raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
Yep.
So tell us let's talk about, just first, we'll talk about what the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is, if the name doesn't already give it away, and just kind of like how you got started with it and involved with that society.
Yeah, absolutely. So, LLS, or the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, is a national nonprofit. They have offices that are all around the country. So every year they have a fundraising competition where various people step up to lead fundraising teams. So it's a 10-week period. This particular period is from March 31st until June 10th. So right now I'm right in the middle of it, essentially. And my team has about 25 people who have voluntarily stepped up to help me raise funds for this organization. And what this organization, what their goal and what their mission is to raise awareness, first and foremost, about various forms of blood cancer. And they do a tremendous amount of research, testing, and treatment around it. So that's essentially what the organization does in a nutshell.
Right. Yeah. And then how did you decide that this was something that you wanted to, help support?
Yeah, great question. So I have a I have a very, very strong and passionate why, um, with why I'm fundraising. So my dad, when I was a child, he had passed away from a form of blood cancer called Hodgkin's lymphoma. Um, and that's one of the many diseases that LLS does a tremendous amount of research, testing, and treatment for. So it was really the perfect impetus behind me wanting to get involved with this organization.
Right. And then, so we're talking about raising money. So it's a competition, right? And
Yep.
then whoever raises the most money in what's the window that we're looking at right now?
It's a 10-week window.
Okay. So a 10-week window. If you, let's just, I mean, I'm just curious. If you raise the most money, is it just kind of like a pat on the back and then you're good? Do you get like a t-shirt? Is there something that you win for being the most fundraised team?
Yeah, I think I get a t-shirt that would be pretty nice
Yeah.
considering that I'm
I love
raising
getting
money.
t-shirts. Yeah.
I have too many myself, along with books, as you can see.
Right. Yes.
Uh,
Very, very well read. Yeah.
exactly. Um, I mean, you do get a lot of recognition for raising these funds. So, that's one of the things. And then, it's going to sound pretty cliche, but you just get a really good feeling from raising money towards a phenomenal cause, which is
Right.
why I'm doing it.
Yeah. And I personally think that it's great. I mean, I was joking obviously about because when I raise money or help raise money at times for different foundations, and if I can get a T-shirt, like I'm always into getting just more T-shirts. My girlfriend makes fun of me because I have so many T-shirts, but it's the same kind of thing. Like I mean, I just do it because I know that it's going to a good cause and all that kind of stuff. And I really admire the fact that you're doing this, given the fact that you have a very close connection to what this organization is trying to support. So let's just say me or one of the spotlighters that we have, which I didn't tell you, that's what I call the listeners because the morning spotlighters. So let's just say that they want to donate money. Um, I know you mentioned research and all that kind of stuff. Is that where the money that they would be donating goes to?
Yes, yes. So a lion's share of the proceeds raised for LLS goes towards research, testing, and treatment for various forms of blood cancer.
Gotcha. Okay. And then what are ways that they can get involved beyond? And let's just say that this is really speaking to somebody that's listening to this bonus episode that we're doing here right now.
hmm
Are there ways that they can get involved beyond just doing this fundraiser?
Yeah, sure. So, besides making a monetary contribution, which would, be great,
Right.
they could sign up to be on my fundraising team and help me fundraise, so there still is time for people to help. So once this is out, my fundraising link will be in the show notes. And once they click on that, they can they can make a contribution, or B, they can sign up to be on my fundraising team, which
Got it.
is great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, so I want to move this because like I mentioned, we're gonna do like a shorter episode,
Sure.
and just try to get it out so people. This could be like a nice, digestible, easy episode for people to listen to, so we can get right to the point. So we're gonna move already into the closing segment, which we call Under the Spotlight. So Under the Spotlight is where we give our guest or guests, depending on how many we have on the show at that particular time, a chance to give the listeners, spotlighters, one final takeaway. So it could be something that we've touched on already, why it's important, all that kind of stuff, or why they should get involved and everything like that. So if there is one thing that you want them to walk away from this episode with, what is that one thing? So you're under the spotlight.
Ooh, a lot of pressure right now, Mike.
Yeah, it gets hot under the
It
spotlight. That's what I tell everybody. It gets hot under
does.
there, a lot of pressure, but
Sweating right now.
right.
Sweating.
Yeah. You got a
No.
sweater on.
Love it. Yeah. So, I would say first and foremost, I love this quote that your service to others is the rent you pay for your room on earth. So there are many people that are in situations that are very unideal, and they're horrendous. So I think a person should first and foremost take away gratitude that, if they don't have cancer, that's a phenomenal thing, because people who do have this disease, I mean, it's a really hard thing to live with. So is to have a lot of gratitude. And if you have the ability to be charitable, that's one of the best traits you could ever do, right? Because people love to associate themselves with people who do good things. And also, by helping out a charity, whether you're on a fundraising team, whether you're giving a monetary contribution, you're not only doing that, you're also inspiring others to be a bit more selfless and a bit more charitable.
Yeah. No, I think that was amazing. That was very well said. Like I didn't mention, or maybe I mentioned this to you on the phone when we first spoke, but so my girlfriend is an oncology nurse here in New Jersey. So she deals with people with cancer literally all the time. I mean, less so over the last year with the
Sure.
COVID stuff and everything, but I mean, that's what her career has been. So anybody that does take up that fight, I think deserves the world of respect. So, um, you know, much respect to you for doing this and coming on the show and talking about it and just taking the initiative to get on here on this show with me. And I know I'm very intimidating. So let's hit the links. So tell us what the links are. Like you mentioned, and like I mentioned, all these are going to be in the show notes. So they will be able to go in there and click on them if they just miss them and can't write them down fast enough. But give us what the highlight links are.
Yeah, sure. Great question. So first and foremost, you can connect with me either on Facebook or on LinkedIn. Those are the two best platforms. Brandon, followed by my last name, Gidicsin, Gidicson, which is, it's kind of a hard name to pronounce. So that's probably the best platform. And then I do have a personal fundraising link, which I will say right now. So for everyone that's listening, it's oh boy, it's kind of a lot.
All right. All right. So there's a personal link that we'll put that in the show notes just so you don't have to read the whole thing because then there's like no shot they're going to get it. So I'm assuming it's the LLS website with like something with your connected,
Yes,
thing. So when they click
exactly.
that, it'll take you and it'll be like, this is Brandon's, right?
Exactly.
Okay, good.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah. Just that way
Alternative.
we save you from saving like, /X question mark SRQ. Yeah. So we'll make sure we'll
Exactly.
save it from that, but we'll put that in the show notes. That'll be right at the top so people know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. And very briefly, I'll just say my cell number as well because it's quick. So it's 516-459-2775. So that's another great way as well.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. And then I will make sure that I put all my links in the show notes as well. So if you do want to reach out to me to get to Brandon, because he's obviously a very intimidating guy as well, and I'll make sure I make that connection for you. So what's the closing bell date when we need to get you money?
Right.
That should have been a question I asked in the actual show because now we already did this final point. Now I'm asking more questions.
So the finale is on June 10th.
Okay.
So we have
like a month from today.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
have a few weeks to raise funds, and I think we can get some good traction in these last couple of weeks.
Awesome. Love it. Do you know like where you are in the standings right now at the time of this recording?
So there's about 30 fundraising teams fundraising for my region. So I'm fundraising for the Long Island region. There's many regions around the country. There's about 30 teams for Long Island. Not sure where I stand because they don't announce it, like midway through. It's always like towards the end.
Right.
But we're trekking along. We're doing quite well. We've raised, quite a lot so far.
Good. Awesome. Well, hopefully this and the Spotlighters who have been known to be charitable will help support this obviously great organization and your fundraising efforts and you, because I think that it takes a lot of intestinal fortitude to come on just a podcast and talk about what you're doing rather than just, trying to hit up your friends and your family for money, which is what I tend to do. But yeah, so Brandon, I appreciate you coming on here with us today. Hopefully we can help you. I'm sure that somebody out there is going to be able to help you. And then I again appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. And you've helped my charity tremendously just by giving me the opportunity just to convey my message, essentially. So huge thank you to you, Mike.
Of course, absolutely. And Spotlighters, make sure you help Brandon out. And thank you for listening. And we will catch you next time.